So your salon's logo really says a lot about you, your salon, and your overall brand. But what is it that makes a really good beauty salon logo? In this video, I'm going to show you some different examples from some very talented designers of salon logos to give you some inspiration. I'll also walk you through 7 different tips to make sure that you avoid the common mistakes that salon owners make when designing their logo. So if you're just starting out and you're creating a new logo for the first time, or maybe you're just looking to refresh the design of your existing logo, this video is for you, so sit tight. If this is the first time we meet, my name is John Hallberg and I run the salonbusiness.com as well as this YouTube channel, and this is where I release the best ideas and strategies for how you can grow your salon business. So if you're serious about doing that, make sure you smash that subscribe button and notification bell. This way you will be notified every time I release a new video on this channel. So it's really important to get your logo right. In the end, your logo is really central in your overall brand and the image of your salon. It's also something that probably will stay with you for quite a few years. For sure, you can come back and update it later, but ideally, you keep the logo over a longer time so you can be consistent in your branding. So it's really good that you're investing the time now to go through the different tips that I have to share now so that you can avoid the common mistakes that salon owners make when designing their logo. So I will be sharing a few different design examples to give you some ideas for your salon logo. These were created by some very talented designers, and I'm gonna include the link below in the description. So if you see a logo that you really like and you want to reach out to that designer, you can check that out on the link. I'll make sure to include all the contact details to the designers who worked on those logos. So let's dive into the 7 different salon logo design tips to help you avoid the common mistakes salon owners make when designing their logo. So salon logo design tip number 1, keep it simple. And I see many salon owners are getting this one wrong. So I know it's tempting that you want to include a lot of different things in your logo. You want to say a lot. You have a lot of colors, you have a lot of fonts and a lot of shades. You know, that makes it complex. It can make it very difficult to read. And also, in order to be able to execute that logo in a lot of different places, you know, on postcards. Oh, why would you execute it on a postcard? But, you know, I don't know, signs, websites, social media. The more complex you make it, the more difficult that is. So try to really keep it simple. And I think a great example of this is this example. This one is from Adam Academy. This was created by Suhail. And again, I'll include the contact details to Suhail if you want to learn more. This is a very simple design. It looks very modern and fresh and really communicates what the salon is about and makes it a very clear stand for the brand. You can obviously use this logo in many different places, as you can see, because the execution is very simple and it just works and it looks modern and it looks nice. So a good example of a simple logo. So salon logo design tip number 2, make the logo unique to you. So you really want the logo to stand out and be distinct versus other salons in your area. So a good thing to do when you're going to design your logo is to look at other salons that are in the area and, you know, what does their logo look like, and can you design it in a way that will make you look unique versus them? The other point is that you also want your logo to somehow represent you and your story, or what is unique about you. For sure, you won't be able to tell your full story in just one visual execution like your logo, but you can include elements in it that kind of gives hints to your story, or at least is something that you can explain when you explain your story that ties back to, you know, the heritage of your salon, or the story of where it comes from, or your personal story for that matter. So make it unique. So a good example of this is the Mod Mop Hair Salon. This logo was designed by Alex, and again I'll include a link below with reference to Alex. It's really cool because it brings to life the story of that salon. This is a salon that works very much with Vidal Sassoon technique. It's a high-end hair salon. And if you know anything about Vidal Sassoon, or if you're a hair salon, you know, he has a typical artistic way of cutting with straight lines, and they're really trying to bring that to life in the logo, to make the logo also a symbol of the type of technique that they use in the salon. So maybe the first time you see this, you might not think about that, but it all comes together in a nice way for the story of the brand, and this is a great way to tell that brand story, which in the end elevates the image and the premium perception of that salon. And that's why I think this is a very good example. Salon logo design tip number 3, make your logo memorable. So you really want the design of your logo to be something that you can own, and that when people see that design, they immediately associate you with it, right? Even if you don't write out your salon's name below it, but just when seeing the logo, they will see that it's you. So, we can do a short test on some big brands. So just to illustrate this point, on the screen now you see a lot of big brands that are iconic brands with visual assets. And even though you cannot see the name of the brand below, I'm sure there's a few in here that you would recognize. In fact, I'm curious, so if you see something that you know which brand it is, write it in the comments box below and we'll see if the comments will build up or cover all the brands that you see in the image. Anyway, these are obviously big global brands, large brands. They invest a lot of money in creating visual assets like this that becomes recognizable. That's not necessarily needed for the salon, but it's a good principle to have in mind in terms of creating something that is visually recognizable also for your salon. But let's look at an example of a beauty brand who's doing this well. This is Jun. This was created by Paul, was the designer of the logo. And this was created for a Danish grooming brand with the Japanese origins. And you can see how that is really brought to life in the logo with kind of that Japanese symbol. And it's something that could even stand on its own and has a very distinct font. So when you see that over time, even if you were to replace June with another word, you would still recognize that this is the brand. So Salon logo design tip number 4, make sure your logo is adaptable. Meaning that it will work on large spaces, it will work on small places, it will work when you cannot print it in color, it will work in black and white as well as in color, so that you really can use it in a lot of different places, because you will find different needs down the line on like small social media icons to bigger posters where you want your logo to work. So you want to be able to adapt that logo to fit all these different type of touch points where you want to execute it. So let's look at an example of a salon that is doing this well. So on the screen right now you see Fanaberia. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but that's the salon. This was designed by Arthur, again leaving the link in the description below. So I think this is a really nice logo. It's very simple, but it's still able to tell a story. As you can say, different parts of the logo, even if subtle, has a meaning. And you can see how that can be used in different ways by moving the icon, having the icon separate to the text, and how that then can be adaptable and work in different colors and executed on all the different touch points where the logo might be used. Salon logo design tip number 5, make sure your logo is balanced and proportional. So the human eye really likes to look at things that are in proportion, that comes together in the right way. So having the right spacing, the right symmetry in the logo is very, very important. And if it's a little bit off, that will look a little bit strange and it won't come across very well. I think all the logos that I'm sharing in this video are obviously doing this and are looking very good. But just to look at a specific example, which I really like, is from the Ruben Salon. This one was created by Victor. Again, you can find this detail on the link that I leave in the description. And you can tell on this image as well that the distance between the elements is really exact. And this is why it's coming together in a very nice way. And you can tell on this image that the space between the different elements of the logo and the placement are in very exact points. And you can see how that comes together in a way that is very pleasant and pleasing for the eye. And this is also a good example of seeing how a logo is adapted to used on different touch points. When you see how it's used here on different material, you can really use that visual asset in different ways, which brings to life the brand, I would say, in a very nice way. Salon logo design tip number 6, make your logo timeless. So you can make your logo modern, or you probably want it to be and look modern, but that's not the same thing as being trendy. Because if you do something that is trendy, in a few years from now, that's going to look dated. So you want to create something that is timeless. Because there's many benefits of having a timeless logo. One is obviously you don't need to update your logo all the time because it looks good now and it will look good in 10 years. And updating your logo costs money because you need to reprint material and all that stuff where you use the logo. And it's also not good to change the logo too often because you're building the logo and the recognizable visual assets of that logo over time, right? So if you change it all the time, it's very hard to do that. And I would also say when you design something that is not only going to look good today, but you're really thinking about the future, that often gives a more premium perception of the logo than when you go into kind of a more trendy look. So let's look at a good example of a timeless logo. This is for the Mood Salon. This one was created by Tatiana. As you can see, this is a logo that would have worked 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It works very well today and it will probably work 5-10 years from now as well. So a good example of just using a design that is timeless and that will work. Salon logo design tip number 7, write a clear brief for what you want to achieve. So when it's time to moving into actually creating your logo, take the time to sit down and think through, first and foremost, who is your logo for? So who is your client? So you have a target in mind for like, okay, this person should appreciate my logo. So who is the target group? What do you want your logo to communicate? Probably you want to communicate, something about your story, something about what your salon is about, right? So what is it really that you want your logo to communicate? And then also, how do you want that to be communicated? Like, do you have any visual assets already? Do you have a story that contains elements that you could introduce into your logo, so that you bring it to life in a way that really represents you in the right way? So take the time to just, before you move into action and start creating things, just to write those things down. Who do you want to communicate to? What do you want your logo to say? And how do you want that to be said? Just you kind of get that down on paper. And then you have different ways when you go create your logo. Either you hire an agency, which is probably the smarter thing to do. A lot of these things that I've talked about here is difficult. You need someone who has like creative talent to be able to interpret what you want your logo to say into actually visual execution. That requires talent. That's why I'm listing those examples from very talented designers. So try to find someone who can do that for you. If you don't have the budget, for sure you can do it yourself. There's some good tools available that are even free that you can use to generate the logo and to create your logo. And that you can use templates, so you don't need necessarily to have the skills, but it can really help you create something that will still work for you, even if, of course, the best is to hire a professional for the job. So again, I'm leaving a link in the description below that takes you to the resources that you can use when creating and designing your logo. So let's just recap quickly on what we went through. So you want your logo to be simple, you want your logo to be unique to you, you want your logo to be memorable, you want to make sure you have the right balance and proportion in the logo so that it comes together in a way that is pleasing for the eye, and you want it to be adaptable so that it can work on a lot of different touch points depending on where you want to execute your logo. And you want it to be timeless. And again, before you go and create your logo, doing it yourself or with a designer, make sure you take the time to write down the brief so that you're clear on the principles for what do you want your logo to communicate and how do you want it, so that you get the best possible result from this. So I really hope you found this video useful. If you did, make sure you smash that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss out when I share new videos on this channel. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you in an upcoming video. Ciao!